Even before there was a COVID-19 vaccine, there were fears supplies would get snapped up by richer nations. Now that science has delivered, there are calls to make sure developing countries get those crucial doses. But as Reggie Cecchini explains, it's far from a fair share of this globally funded medicine.
The loss and devastation felt in 2020 is breathtaking. COVID-19 ravaged lives and economies on a global scale, but returning to a semblance of normal has its own obstacles.
One of the biggest threats to preventing this pandemic coming to an end is what's become called vaccine nationalism.
Rich nations provided billions of dollars to back vaccine research and wanted to guarantee a return on investment.
In just a few minutes, I'll sign an executive order to...
Earlier this month, President Trump called for all Americans to be first in line. It was largely symbolic, but the message showcases how wealth plays into this pandemic.
The pandemic is global, and the response has to be global.
To ensure vaccine distribution is equitable, the World Health Organization and two nonprofits backed by the Gates Foundation launched COVAX. It funded some vaccine candidates and was promised hundreds of millions of doses in return, an arduous effort to get 1 billion doses to 92 poor nations.
Now, the program is primarily about rationing better.
It's far from what's needed. Good enough for maybe 20% of that population, and it doesn't provide a way for poorer countries to get access to vaccine innovation.
We can afford to pay for the technology that will end the pandemic. What we can't afford is exclusivity and secrecy limiting the available supply.
Some nonprofits like Oxfam are critical of countries buying their way to protection and using power as a bargaining chip.
We've seen already certain nations that want to extend their chessboard of geopolitics use vaccine diplomacy to try to get in the good graces of countries that can't get access to vaccines.
As vaccine production ramps up, so too do purchases. Several countries, including Canada, have procured more doses than they need. Ottawa, along with the EU, have signaled they may donate unused doses to COVAX. The U.S. is not a part of the program after President Trump withdrew from the WHO.
The more that the rich world locks up the supply, the harder it's going to be for COVAX to get enough doses to go to low and middle income countries.
The global community relied on each other to slow the spread of COVID-19. Now, health experts are cautioning without that same effort to eradicate it, far too many will be left behind or lost. Reggie Cecchini, Global News, Washington.